of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scripture inference to the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to by an imagination. 6. To give some introduction to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritual activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Once again, I thank everyone for joining the Bhakti Sangha conference call today. Let us move to our next session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam class. May I know who all have joined the call this morning?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Arvind Das from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Arvind Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Preeti Das from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Preeti Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you. Go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. This is Balavinda.
Hare Krishna Balvrinda, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining and doing wonderful chanting, Vrinda. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from College Station, Texas.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vandana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you, Dandavat Pranam to all the devotees, all glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Raj, all glories to Shambhali devotee. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Vardhana
Krishna.
Mataji. Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. My Dandavat Pranams to all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Gurudev and Gauranga. This is Sushmita from Canada. Beautiful the background, Mataji. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Sushmita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vardhana Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajis. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidas from Raleigh.
Hare Krishna Krishna Kumari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shyama Gauri Devidasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Shyama Gauri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Tiffany Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. I'm so happy to hear your Vani Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Krishna,
Welcome back,
thank you,
Mataji.
Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Is anybody else would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my Dandavat Pranams. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to the Vaishnavas assembled on the call. Vasundhara Devi Dasi from Bangalore, India. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavas Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhuji is not joined yet. Can we go with introduction, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Let me just give a co-host to the Sureswar Sham Prabhu. I'll start the recording, Mataji.
Welcoming all of you to the Bhakti Sanga conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Ravindra Chaitanya Prabhu. Prabhuji is going to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, 8th chapter, verses number 54 to 56. We'll end the chapter 8 today. Before diving into the call, I will hand over the call to Sureshwar Sham Prabhu to give brief introduction of Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please take over the call.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. So, His Grace Ravindra Chaitanya Prabuji was born in a pious and opulent Marwari family. Prabhuji did his schooling in Mumbai. His family got introduced to ISKCON in early 1993 through congregation programs. As a youth, he took up many services including dramas, kirtans, book distribution and preaching under ISKCON Youth Forum, Mira Road. During 1997 to 2001, he was recognized as an active youth leader. After working for years, Prabhuji got deeply inspired from the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, and later he joined the International Society for Krishna Consciousness in 2008 as a full-time member to practice and propagate the sublime teachings of Bhagavad Gita, as it is amongst the confuse the youth of today. He has completed ISKCON's graduate degree Bhakti Shastri course twice. He has a vast youth preaching experience and cultivation experience. He has traveled across India for preaching and visiting many holy places. He did a 1-year dedicated course of Srimad Bhagavatam in Bhakti Vedanta Vidyapit, Govardhan Eco Village, Wada, Maharashtra. Currently, he teaches Bhakti Shastri and runs his own designated program, 7 Steps to Success, and Bhakti Vruksha at ISKCON Pune, and is a COM member for several departments at ISKCON Pune. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Back to you, Mataji.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Until Prabhuji join, we'll continue our chanting. Mataji, can you please stop recording, Mataji? Krishna 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 Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Vasudeva Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna 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 Ram Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Ram Ram Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Ram Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
I think Prabhuji joined, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, we'll start.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for giving your valuable time and association to us this morning and enlightening us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. We've seen you after a long time, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. I'll hand over the call to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
I'm very sorry for the delay. Let us start now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manoabhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruhu Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishubhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for this session on the Srimad Bhagavatam. We would be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam's 7th Canto, 8th chapter. The chapter is entitled Lord Nrsimha Dev slays the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu. And we would be reading verses 54, 55 and 56. Only the 56th verse has a purport, whereas verses 54 and 55 don't have a purport. Okay, I'm briefly reading it and going through all these three verses. Shri Vaitalika Uchuhu Sabhasu Shatreshu Tava Amalam Yasho Gitva Saparyam Mahatim Labhamahe Yastamanashid Vasham Esha Durjano Drishtya Hataste Bhagwan Yatha Maya. The inhabitants of Vaitalika Loka said, Dear Lord, because of chanting your spotless glories in great assemblies and arenas of sacrifice, we were accustomed to great respect from everyone. This demon, however, usurped that position. Now, to our great fortune, you have killed this great demon exactly as one cures a chronic disease. Text 55. Shri Kinnaraha Uchuhu Vayamisha Kinnara Ganastava Ditijena Vishtim Amunanukkaritaha Bhavata Haresa Vrijino Avasadito Narasimhanatha Vibhavayano Bhava. The Kinnaras said, O Supreme Controller, we are ever existing servants of your Lordship, but instead of rendering service to you, we were engaged by this demon in his service, constantly and without remuneration. This sinful man has now been killed by you. Therefore, O Lord Nrsimha Dev, our master, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Please continue to be our patron. And the last one, which is the culmination verse of this chapter also. Shri Vishnur Parshada Uchuhu Adyaitadhari Nara Rupam Adbhutam Te Drishtam Naha Sharanada Sarvaloka Sharma Soayam Te Vidikara Isha Viprashaptas Tasyedam Nidhanam Anugrahaya Vidmaha. Translation. The associates of Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha offered this prayer, O Lord, our supreme giver of shelter. Today we have seen your wonderful form as Lord Nrsimha Dev, meant for the good fortune of all the world. O Lord, we can understand that Hiranyakashipu was the same Jai who engaged in your service, but was cursed by Brahmanas, and who thus received the body of a demon. We understand that his having now been killed is your special mercy upon him. Purport. Hiranyakashipu's coming to this earth and acting as the Lord's enemy was pre-arranged. Jai and Vijay were cursed by the Brahmanas Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan, Sanat Kumar, because Jai and Vijay checked these four Kumaras. The Lord accepted this cursing of his servants and agreed that they would have to go to the material world and would then return to Vaikuntha after serving the term of the curse. Jai and Vijay were very much perturbed, but the Lord advised them to act as enemies, for then they would return after 3 births. Otherwise, ordinarily, they would have to take 7 births. With this authority, Jai and Vijay acted as the Lord's enemies, and now that these two were dead, all the Vishnu Dutas understood that the Lord's killing of Hiranyakashipu was special mercy bestowed upon them. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the 7th Canto, 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Nrsimha Dev slays the king of the demons. And post this, the 9th chapter, Prahlad pacifies Lord Nrsimha Dev. Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay, so just give me a second, please. Hare Krishna. So I'd like to welcome everyone for this everyday spiritual program. And I'm very glad that I've got an opportunity to receive all of your association, get an opportunity to serve all of you by reading these verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The chapter is having a very climax ending. Lord Nrsimha Dev finally slayed the king of the demons. As we all know the story, and we have heard it over the last so many classes, that Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, the two twin brothers, were a cause of great disturbance and anxiety for everyone. And they took birth through Diti and Kashyap Muni when the couple engaged in a sexual intercourse. Diti is the wife of Maharshi Kashyap. And the story comes in the third canto that it so happened that Diti one evening was so much tempted by lust that she forced her husband Kashyap Muni, who was deeply situated in trance, in meditation, to give up that and accompany her for a sexual intercourse, for which Kashyap Muni did not readily agree. He gave his reasons. He said that this is not a very auspicious time. But then Diti could not help understand herself, and she actually ended up in Kashyap Muni. And then Kashyap Muni, as you know, in the third canto we hear the story. Kashyap Muni engaged in that act, and after that, Kashyap Muni understood very well, seeing the whole situation. He understood that now the result of this act, which has been done very untimely, is not going to be very, very fruitful. In fact, because of this evening hours wherein the Shiva Ganas are roaming around, the result would be that the sons, the progeny born out of our combination, would be demonic in nature. Kashyap Muni gives us some understanding of how in the Vedic system everything was done according to Muhurt. Muhurt means timing, auspicious timing. So in the Vedic system, in the Vedic fold, everything that we do right from birth till our death has to be done in an orderly fashion according to timings, according to auspicious days, so that the endeavors get the blessings of the scriptures, of the Brahmanas, of the Supreme Lord, and thereby, overall, it has an auspicious impact on us. To the point that even the union of a man and a woman has to be done in an auspicious time only. Otherwise, it could be causing a very untoward result. It is not, however, the case that if everything is done according to Muhurta, auspicious timing, then by default the results are good. That's not a compulsion. However, when things are done in an orderly fashion, there is a good chance, there is a greater chance of things going favorably. So it so happened, and then the twin brothers, the whole environment surrounding became so that Kashyap Muni could recognize the ill effects of this inauspicious union. And Diti was very disturbed, especially when she heard that the twins which would be born of her womb would be demonic in nature, and they would be killed by the hands of Lord Sri Hari, Sri Vishnu. That further perturbed the mind of Diti. She had not actually envisioned this thought of, she had not actually envisioned that something like this would be happening. she had done in her innocent good faith, that everything would be auspicious. But little did she knew that the result wouldn't be so. And after that was announced, Diti got very disturbed. But then, when she came to know that the grandson, the grandson is the son of the son. So the grandson of Diti would be a very, very highly exalted devotee of the Lord, who would be so highly elevated that even the demigods would follow his example, and he would be just like pure gold and purify the others who are like impure gold. So Diti became very, very happy, and all her misery, all her anxiety was gone. She was very happy. She understood that, oh, if that is the case, then I need not worry. So we were discussing this yesterday also, and the good conclusion that came out from this discussion was that association of a devotee, of a pure devotee, even done mentally, brings on auspiciousness. The same Diti who was very disturbed after hearing the news of her son's demise in the future at the hands of Lord Vishnu, became very, very happy, jubilant after hearing that the grandson would be a great devotee of the Lord. And not only that, she also further heard that this boy, Prahlad, his name would be Prahlad, would be able to see the Lord inside and outside. Wherever, everywhere he would go, and he would always remain in connection with the Lord. And because of his being able to see the Lord everywhere, he would always remain on the absolute platform. And because of remaining on the absolute platform, the boy would not discriminate between evil and good, or auspicious, inauspicious. He would be in absolute equilibrium under all circumstances because of being always connected with the Supreme Lord. So the second lesson that we learn from that particular story is that staying connected with the Absolute, or being in communion with the Absolute, is very essential if we wish to remain free from material disturbances and anxieties. The reason we have these material disturbances and anxieties is because we are not always situated on the absolute platform. We do sometimes get pushed into the absolute platform, onto it, because of some causeless mercy of some devotees, because of the process of Krishna consciousness. But then we are not able to remain on the platform of absolute truth. And that is the reason when we fall down, we come to the platform of relativity, which is subjective in nature. And that relativity causes us to see differences between people. It causes us to differentiate between friend and enemy, between good and bad, between auspicious, inauspicious, etc. So I was also speaking on this topic yesterday, and the beautiful conclusion is that for all of us who are in the material realm, who are in the material world, and who are actually facing the tormentation of the material world, one of the main, or you could say the main causes, because we are not above the clutches of the distresses of the material world. We are within the clutches. And the reason is that because we are not situated on the higher absolute platform. So I was giving the example of a video game. Sometimes you have a video game, and in this video game, you have the main character of the video game walking at a certain platform, at a certain level, wherein that character is able to get some gold coins, some nitro packs, some fruits, etc., etc. And sometimes, if you've noticed in those video games, he has to take a jump to grasp those gold coins, those fruits, those freebies, those goodies. And at times, in that same path, there is a ditch, and that ditch has some sharp objects, some fire, some water, some wild animals. So the character has to ensure that he is able to take that leap when there is a ditch. And if he fails to take a leap, falls into the ditch, and then dies. And then one chance is over. And like that, when there are 3 chances are over, the game is over. So this goes to show that even for remaining alive in that computer game, in that video game, that character needs to be alert for not falling in the ditch and has to keep on jumping up, increase or rise onto the platform, on the higher platform, and then he can sustain. Otherwise, he'll fall into the ditch and die. So we can relate this very much from our lives. We live in a world wherein there are so many people. Every person in himself is another world, and so many worlds within one big world. And this one world is a very small fragment within the big, big, big material world. So to be able to relate to everyone, to be able to please to everyone, to be able to satisfy everyone is very difficult. We all practically know this. But we can free ourselves from this distress or misery when we are able to situate ourselves on the absolute platform. Devotees in our times, current times, we see when they are able to situate themselves on the absolute platform, then they are free from such anxieties and distress. For example, we can see the life story of our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, who underwent so many miseries, so many anxieties, and practically he was thrown off his plan to go and execute the instruction, the order of his spiritual master by going to the West and writing books in English, distributing them, and so on and so forth. He did not meet any kind of help, any kind of support. He did not receive any kind of shelter. He was totally dependent on the mercy of the Lord. And when he became very helpless in that situation, the Lord bestowed so much of mercy that Srila Prabhupada, over the weeks and months and years, grew up this movement, and this movement gave life to so many. So we see that being situated on that absolute platform is very essential. So these were the characteristics of Prahlad Maharaj, and when these characteristics were pointed out, Diti became jubilant. She was very happy. In fact, in her last prayer, in that particular chapter, Pregnancy of Diti in the evening, she says that now I am not at all worried about anything that's going to happen in the future. In fact, I am very happy that my sons will be killed by Lord Vishnu. Just a couple of verses ago, she was disturbed. But now, after hearing about Prahlad Maharaj and his exalted stature, she is very happy. So she says that now I am very, very happy and satisfied. And I don't mind if my children are killed by the Lord. Because if one is garlanded or killed by the Lord, it is both are the same. They will receive the eternal abode. So immediately her intelligence was corrected the illusion was removed from her parental consciousness, she could understand that whatever the Lord does is absolute, whether he kills or whether he rewards, both are absolute. So Diti was able to rise up to this understanding, and the credit does not really go to Maitreya Muni or Kashyap Muni who are narrating the story, but it goes to Prahlad Maharaj, whose appearance is foretold, and because of that, Diti could help herself in overcoming the illusion. So we can see how the association of pure devotees acts so subtly that it helps us remove the illusion, the confusion that we are having in our lives. So such association is very much desired, should be desired by all the devotees. And as it was foretold, so it should happen. So fast forward to the 7th canto, 8th chapter, where we see that actually happening. Hiranyaksh has already died. Now Hiranyakashipu has been slain. And what a dramatic ending to the whole story. Hiranyakashipu died fighting with the Supreme Lord. So chivalrous. He was fighting, he was trying to defeat the Lord, and the Lord also, in order to fulfill the desires of his pure devotees, like Brahmaji and Prahlad Maharaj, came up in such a form that all the conditions mentioned by Hiranyakashipu were met, and he was fully satisfied. And the Lord counted all the conditions mentioned by Hiranyakashipu, not in the sky, not on the earth, not inside the house, outside the house, not by a man, not by an animal, not by weapons, not by any mantras. So he recounted all these conditions and then proved to Hiranyakashipu that now the perfect situation has come. And then he tore open the hard chest, stone-like chest, and the belly of Hiranyakashipu and killed Hiranyakashipu. As he killed, we know that all the demigods became very disturbed, in the sense because the Lord was so ferocious, the Lord was roaring, and since no one was coming to garland him, appreciate him, the Lord himself took out the intestines of Hiranyakashipu and garlanded himself. All the demigods were so much in fear of this ferocious form that none of them was able to go ahead and try to pacify the Lord. And as we know that then Brahmaji advised Prahlad Maharaj to go and garland the Lord. And when Prahlad did that, the Lord gently took him in his lap and licked him and showered so much of love to his devotee Prahlad. And Prahlad Maharaj was very fearless, sat on the lap, and as we know, the Lord and his devotee then have a conversation. And that's a very, very beautiful conversation wherein the Lord requests Prahlad to ask for some boons. But the response given by Prahlad Maharaj is indeed very, very awakening. So in this particular section now that we are reading, wherein this chapter is ending, we are reading about the various demigods who were witnessing this whole event. The Lord fighting with Hiranyakashipu and killing him and garlanding himself, etc. And the demigods then, upon seeing the triumphant victory of Lord Nrsimha Dev, in sequence started glorifying the Supreme Lord, one after another. I think from the 40th verse, the glorification of the Supreme Lord by Lord Brahmaji, Lord Shiva, and the various demigods, Indra, Chandra, etc., is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam's 7th Canto, 8th chapter. And we are reading the verses 54 to 56. In the first one, in the 54th verse, we read of the glorification of the Vaitalika, the inhabitants of Vaitalika Loka. I'm not really sure of this particular Loka. What is this Loka about? Because the Srimad Bhagavatam just does not refer to this particular planet anywhere else. It is only mentioned here. So Vaitalika Loka seems to be a higher planet where certain residents stay, and they have also come to glorify the Supreme Lord. And what are they saying? They are saying, "Dear Lord, because of chanting your spotless glories in great assemblies and arenas of sacrifice, we were accustomed to great respect from everyone." What a beautiful point. They say that because of appreciating you, glorifying you, chanting your glories, praying, reciting so many glorifications, we received respect from the people. We received prestige. We received honor from the people because we clasped your lotus feet, we glorified you, and we always were, they say, we were chanting your spotless glories in sacrificial arenas. So the Vaitalikas seem to be having this particular affection for chanting the spotless glories of the Lord. And because of which, they were receiving a lot of respect from everyone. And then they say, this demon, however, usurped that position. Now, to our great fortune, you have killed this great demon exactly as one cures a chronic disease. So we can understand that one receives a lot of appreciation because of upholding the Lord in one's heart. In the material circles, generally, those who are more spiritual minded or believers of God are considered to be not very strong, not having a very strong personality. They do not have their own individuality. The people believe that these people are little helpless people. They have a lame mentality. They depend upon something. So the general image of the faithful people is that they are weak. Whereas one who does not believe in God, who is an atheist, is a very strong person. But here we see that the Vaitalikas received respect and adoration from the people in general because of upholding the Lord, because of speaking of the Lord's glories. That's a very interesting point. So when we connect with the Supreme Lord, we do become respected in the society also. Let me tell you one practical point which we can see in our day-to-day workings, in our day-to-day relationships. Many times the in-laws, the father-in-law, the mother-in-law have a complaint about not being treated as they would like to be treated by their daughter-in-law or their son-in-law. This generally happens, especially everywhere in the world, especially in India, we do see this. So people come up with these kind of issues and they say that, give me a minute, the background sound. So many times such anxious parents come up and they relate and they say that, our children do not respect us. And they are now grown up, they have their own families. So we don't receive that kind of respect from them. So, what is the solution? So, a person gets respect when he respects the Supreme Lord. It is very direct formula. Generally, I have seen it that when we become very, very staunch in our practices of Krishna consciousness, and we become very, very fixed up and disciplined and regulated, then even though people at the other end may not be believers, they are non-believers, or they are not so keen or inclined, but in their hearts, somewhere, they do start respecting the commitment of the devotees. This can be seen, although it's a tough exam to pass, the exam of commitment. But then people subtly sometimes even quote the example in other circles that better is my such and such in-law or father, mother. At least they are committed to the Supreme Lord. So certainly they appreciate. So when we hold the Lord in our heart very firmly, there's no doubt that the society gives us respect. Not everyone may, but definitely there is a certain section of the society who appreciates and respects. Of course, the devotees do not hanker for respect, but sometimes for a working relation, little bit respect is necessary. So this is what we can understand from the prayers of the Vaitalika. And they were thinking of Hiranyakashipu as a chronic disease, something which was here to stay. But then the Lord removed him. So they were very grateful to the Lord. In fact, from here on, in their hearts, then they would be even more grateful and sing the glories of the Lord with even more affection, even more remembrance of the Supreme Lord. Then comes the second prayer of the Kinnaras, Sri Kinnara Uchu. What are they praying for? O Supreme Controller, we are ever existing servants of your Lordship, but instead of rendering service to you, we were engaged by this demon in his service, constantly and without remuneration. This sinful man has now been killed by you. Therefore, Lord Nrsimha Dev, our master, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Please continue to be our patron. So the Kinnaras, Kinnara, whether it is a man, so the Kinnaras are special species resembling like monkeys, and the loka of such special species, empowered living beings, is the Kinnara loka. So the residents of Kinnara loka are praying that, O Supreme Lord, we were engaged in the service of Hiranyakashipu free of cost. He was not giving us any remuneration, and it was against our will. So Hiranyakashipu was exploiting every segment of society. He was not leaving any segment, even the Kinnaras. And they say that now this person has been killed, and therefore we offer our respectful obeisances unto you. So they are also feeling gratitude in their heart. Actually, this feeling of gratitude is the beginning of devotional service. That is where the devotional service begins. Then we want to act positively for the pleasure of the Lord. Initially, when we come to devotional service, it is because of fear of death, or it is because of wanting some peace from anxieties of the material world. There could be multifarious reasons why we actually come to the spiritual life. But these could be reasons which turn our face from the material world towards Lord. But then actually our devotional service towards the Lord starts with gratitude. when we feel for the gifts that the Lord has given upon us. And so many of them. The Lord has given us good health. Lord has given us good surroundings, good things to eat, which sometimes we may get, sometimes we may not. Good things to wear. And He has given us all the basic necessities of life. Like we are getting air, we are getting water, we are getting the earth, we are getting the heat of the sun, we are getting fire. Everything that is required for sustenance is provided by the Supreme Lord in this creation. It's a complete universe. But then, because of having a lot of free time and no interest in the Supreme Lord, and the mentality of mastering over all the resources of the material world, the living entity ends up exploiting them and starts thinking that, oh, I am the controller. That is where his material consciousness begins, and he starts falling from the absolute platform. So it is very important for us as devotees, practicing devotees, to feel grateful, a feeling of gratitude towards the Supreme Lord. Our execution of our devotional commitments like chanting, fasting, waking up early, etc., are all displaying our gratitude to the Lord. And we should be happy executing it. We should not be feeling, oh, it's a requirement, it's a force, oh, we should not be feeling like that. Though sometimes we may feel weak in our gratefulness, but then we should try to rise up again. So, a heart of gratitude is the right attitude for progressing in devotional service. In the material world, when we receive some help and support from someone, we feel so grateful towards him or her. How much so more should we feel for the Supreme Lord? Right? Because He is the source of everything, He is the foundation of everything. But living entity has a permanent disease in this material world, and that disease is the disease of forgetfulness. We tend to forget whatever we have received, and we have to be reminded. We have to be reminded by the devotees. So the devotees are like Jambavan, and the forgetting practitioner is like Hanuman. And every Hanuman has a lot of potential, but they have to be reminded by a Jambavan. It was only Jambavan who reminded Hanuman, and Hanuman could recollect his own strength, and then he took that commitment to leap across the ocean and go to Lanka. So we require some Jambavans in our life who will awaken us and make us realize our real strength. Coming to the last verse is spoken by the Vishnu Parshada. What a beautiful ending with the associates of Lord Vishnu. Now they are speaking their glorification to the Supreme Lord. They say that the associates of Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha offer this prayer, O Lord, our supreme giver of shelter, today we have seen your wonderful form as Lord Nrsimha Dev, meant for the good fortune of all the world. O Lord, we can understand that Hiranyakashipu was the same Jai who engaged in your service but was cursed by Brahmanas and who thus received the body of a demon. We understand that his having now been killed is your special mercy upon him. So we know the pastime. Again, going back to the third canto, how the four Kumaras who were entering into the Vaikuntha Loka had crossed all the 6 gates, the 6 pearly gates of heaven. Christian stories having pearly gates. And then the 7th gate, the main and the final gate, where the 4 Kumaras were about to enter. So each ring has 4 gates, and each gate has 2 doorkeepers. And like that, there are 7 concentric gates. So 4 gates within each ring and 2 doorkeepers for each gate. So they crossed the first one, the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one, and now they were on the seventh one. So they would have just entered and they would have been into the Lord's chamber, the Lord's private chamber. But on the seventh gate, the particular gate through which they were trying to enter had Jai and Vijay as the doorkeepers. So Jai and Vijay are two doorkeepers, very intimate servants of the Lord. And we know from the third canto that the four Kumaras engaged in an argument with the two doorkeepers, and the doorkeepers stopped them, and eventually the four Kumaras cursed the two doorkeepers, and because of which the doorkeepers were destined to now fall down from the spiritual abode into the material world for 3 lifetimes as demons. Lord Vishnu appeared on that scene and he begged forgiveness from the four Kumaras. He pacified the doorkeepers. He resolved the whole situation. But then whatever has been announced was to happen now. So the two doorkeepers, Jai and Vijay, became Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh. Jai became Hiranyakashipu and Vijay became Hiranyaksh. And here the Vishnu Dutas are confirming this, that it was Jai who was Hiranyakashipu, who had taken this role because of that curse, but now he has been relieved because he has been killed by you. So the 3 births of Jai and Vijay are over. The first birth is over, Hiranyaksh, Hiranyakashipu. So now he is relieved from that. And this is all due to the curse of the 4 Kumaras. So here we read of a very interesting point. They say that we understand that his having now been killed is your special mercy upon him. Everything that happens is the mercy of the Lord. This is the devotee's vision, absolute vision. Everything is the mercy of the Lord. Whereas we tend to see something as mercy and something as curse, something tasteful and something in distaste. But the devotees are able to see everything as the mercy of the Lord. So this is the Uttamadhikari platform, the highest platform, whereas most of us would be in the Kanishta or in the Madhyamadhikari platform. We can understand someone to be on a Uttamadhikari when he is able to see every living entity has the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And thus, no hatred, no envy for any living entity. So we have to gradually come to this platform. It is not only for good reading and clapping. It is for us to imbibe in ourselves this platform of Uttamadhikari. If not the society of Srila Prabhupada, if not the devotees of Srila Prabhupada, then where else? The devotees of Srila Prabhupada, the followers, the Krishna conscious movement, the devotees are the most refined, and they are the ones on whom the maximum hopes are present of being an Uttamadhikari. We cannot really expect this from others. So it is left for us to try and come up to this platform. And we do see this in our acharyas. We could see this in Haridas Thakur. Of course, in every other acharya also, but one particular example which immediately I could recall was of Haridas Thakur. When he was being whipped in the 22 marketplaces, he was constantly praying for the jailkeepers who were whipping him. And these jailkeepers, or the people who were whipping him, their hands were in full blisters because of the leather whip that they were using. And when they saw that Haridas Thakur is not at all having any impact, any effect, even after being whipped in the 22 marketplaces, they fell unto his feet and they said, they prayed, they begged, "Oh Lord, you are such a highly exalted devotee. No one has survived beyond 1 or 2 marketplaces, but you did not cry, you did not lament, you showed no signs of anxiety, and you went up to the 22 marketplaces. Now we have nowhere else to take you. But we pray to you that if you do not die, then the king, the Nawab, is going to kill us. So we request your mercy. We have our families, we have our children, and we have our duties to do. They all depend on us. So please help us. So Haridas Thakur, he did not try to exploit the situation by saying that, what can I do? If you will die, that's your karma. He did not say like that. He said that, okay, if my existence becomes a cause of misery for you, then better I should die. When I fall apart, you throw me in the Ganga. And then they did so, and then Haridas Thakur swam across and went to the other part and then again started preaching. So we can understand from this the culture of the great souls. We can understand their mentality, we can understand their attitude, we can understand the platform on which they are. So overall, this is what we learn from today's session. The 3 verses are in glorification of Lord Nrsimha Dev having killed Hiranyakashipu. Post this, Prahlad Maharaj would offer his prayers. We heard about the pastime of Diti and Kashyap Muni, and we heard about Prahlad Maharaj's appearance also. And then we heard about these prayers. Prayer of the Vaitalikas, the prayer of the Kinnaras, the prayer of the Vishnu Parshadas. And we heard about how it is important for every one of us to stay on the absolute platform, to remain free from the distress of material world. We also heard about getting respect for our working relations. One does get respect when one is situated on the absolute platform. If not in the material world also, but one does definitely gain respect in the devotee circle or in the eyes of the Supreme Lord. And then we heard the story of Jai Vijay and the 4 Kumaras. So with this, we are ending this particular chapter, and the 9th chapter will be starting soon. So I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak on this particular set of verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much. If you have any comments or questions, please do let me know. Yes, we have Shiva Kumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you. Thank you so much for wonderful class, Prabhu, and also recap. Thank you, Prabhuji. Let us move to our session for question and answer session. Shiv Kumar Prabhuji, please unmute yourself and go ahead with your questions, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. And also, thank you for the class today, Prabhu. Very simple, yet rich and insightful. Just one question here, Prabhu. You were talking about, for most part of the session today, you were talking about situating in the absolute platform to rise above the dualities of this world. So I was just thinking, Prabhu, even within the devotees, one of the challenges that comes up, I can speak from my experience, is the differences of opinion of how we look at Shastra, the messages of Shastra, seems to be heavily influenced by individuals' experience of life. So I was just thinking, Prabhu, why such contradicting opinions come up, which leads to inconvenience in one of the ways within the association itself? So one thing that I could reflect, which I wanted to validate with you, is it because we are not situated in the absolute platform is the reason why there are differences of opinion in terms of understanding the Shastra, how it applies to individual life, or something else, or more? Wanted to just hear from you.
Thank you. Indeed, differences of opinions is an absolute problem. It is absolutely an absolute problem. It is very common in the material world to find differences. And our nature is that wherever we find differences, we divert, we divide. And whenever we find similarities, we unify, we come together. Like if you're in the West and we find an Indian, oh, you're from India? Oh, me too. So we start relating on certain common denominator. Both are Indians. But here in India, we do not appreciate that someone is an Indian because there is so much in plenty. Then here we start relating between, oh, you're a North Indian. Oh, I'm a South Indian. Oh, you are also South Indian. Okay, good. Where from? Then we start connecting. And then within South India or North India, then we start relating. Oh, you are a Bihari. Oh, you are a Marwadi. Oh, you're Gujarati. Oh, I'm also Gujarati. Oh, wonderful. Where from? So living entity has this tendency to find a common denominator. Oh, you love cricket? I also love cricket. So we are one. Oh, you don't love cricket? But I love cricket. We are not. This is what living entity is trying to do all the time. Try to find people, gather them, make union with those who are one. So our tendency to become one is so much inherent that we are not able to accept a second opinion, second thought. We're not able to easily accept it. Whereas when we come to the Vaishnava school, we understand that a beautiful philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is the shelter for our managerial purposes, the Achintya Bheda Abheda philosophy. Living entities are one, yet different. They are one amongst themselves, yet different. They are one with the Supreme Lord, yet different. And if that Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva is meditated upon, then we can understand that managerially people are one, yet different. However, this would be true if everyone was situated on an absolute platform. But because of having individuality, might be thinking differently. So we could have accepted that. But the problem is that the living entities with whom we are serving in our society are also somewhere progressing. They are work in progress. They are also moving towards perfection, moving towards absolute. So that lacuna of not being perfect affects the whole system in which we try to function. And that is where exactly the application of all the learning over so many years comes to play. What have we learned? How much have we learned? So I generally would say that Krishna consciousness is all blissful till you start serving with some one devotee. When we start serving with one such devotee, then we start realizing, oh, I thought Krishna consciousness was all blissful. Except this devotee, except that devotee, except those group of devotees, except all the devotees of that temple, except all the devotees of that Guru Maharaj's disciples. So this is because of her conditioned nature. Half cooked chapati serves no one. So we are such. So in short, the understanding could be that because we are all having our individualities and adorn it with imperfection, so we are in for a big toss. So we try in our spiritual circles, we try. So one good way is, how a kite is flown. If you've seen or you've flew a kite, that there's a particular method of leaving the rope, the thread, sometimes loosening it and sometimes tightening it. So likewise in our consciousness also, we sometimes go near the devotees, we try to serve, we try to apply the philosophy, but when it becomes a little too much, and capacity of every individual is different. So how much is too much would be different for everyone. But then whenever we feel, oh, it's too much, then we hold back, we come back. We again try to go through the books. Oh, what was mentioned, what is written. We try to take counseling, we try to discuss it with senior devotees. We try to gather the philosophy, make it sink inside. And there's a particular way in which the rainwater sinks inside the earth. That is when, not when there's a very heavy rainfall. In just 15-20 minutes, there is 20 mm of rainfall, and there's so much of downpour, so fast, so strong. Generally, such water does not get a chance to sink inside the earth. But when the rainfall is very gradual, very slow throughout the day, then that water, over the days, slowly, then that water sinks inside and the water table level increases. So like that in our consciousness also, deep meditation and reflection definitely helps in trying to see. Whenever there are differences, we try to reflect upon it and we see where I felt, why I went wrong, what I could have improved, and what was beyond my control, which Krishna, it is Krishna's choice, it is his desire. I am here to serve. So let us try to, implement that. Is it all right, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Very insightful answer. I made a note of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for wonderful answer. Radha Jyoti Mataji, do you want to go ahead with your question, Mataji? I see you posted in the chat.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you. Yes, Mataji, I posted in the chat. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam to you. Prabhuji, you mentioned about Mother Aditi, and you mentioned that she was satisfied, but she was demonic in nature. So, how she was specified or convinced by having a devotee as a child will be perfect in the means perfect devotee, pure devotee. So I wanted to know about it.
That is exactly the power of a pure devotee. The pure devotee is a pure devotee and an exalted Mahajan like Prahlad Maharaj is no ordinary person. So having a maternal affection because of Prahlad Maharaj being a grandson, she received this sukriti of being able to appreciate the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj. Yes, it is true that demons are averse towards the Lord, but in the case of Diti, it is not that she is demonic in nature. She comes from that lineage, but she received the association of Kashyap Muni, who is also an exalted Muni. And then the birth of Jai and Vijay, who are the doorkeepers of the Supreme Lord, and being chosen to nurse them, to give them birth, also signifies that Diti would be having a special position somewhere, that she was chosen to be the mother of such demons. But mainly because of the association of the news of Prahlad Maharaja's appearance. So she was able to relate, she was able to purify her mind. So here we can understand that the glories of a pure devotee are indeed very powerful. If they are taken with a neutral or a positive spirit, they can definitely be very helpful in elevating our consciousness. Diti was not having any perception about devotees as such, and therefore she could receive the news very well. So we can understand that associating with the devotees, even though sometimes, like even in our case also, we may not be like demons, but sometimes we act much worse than demons, or internally in our hearts we are covered demons, But then when we come in spiritual circles and a pure devotees association, you feel like giving up that demonic mentality, quality, and transforming ourselves. So therefore, we should associate with such great souls regularly through our mind, through our vani, through our services, through our senses. So you could see this is very auspicious association of Vardhana Mataji which she received. So that is the understanding we can have here.
And Prabhuji,
Okay,
thank you so
Mataji.
much. Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have one more question. Could you please teach how the curse works in spiritual realm? Because when we are in spiritual, it means there must be no sign of material. So I just wanted to know how it will be, how the curse worked in spiritual realm.
For the curse of the four Kumaras,
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
that's a pastime of the Lord. It's a pastime of the Lord, and it was predetermined. It was the Lord's desire. See, let us try to understand something. I mean, we have a kind of skewed understanding of the spiritual world at times. We think that spiritual world means all good and nothing wrong can happen over there. However, on the other side, philosophically, we understand that the spiritual world is a superset of the material world. It's not a subset, it's a superset. So, whatever happens in the material world does happen in the spiritual world, plus something more, which does not happen in the material world, right? Because the material world has come out from the spiritual world. So the spiritual world is a superset. So if there are curses working in the material world, definitely they have to be working in the spiritual world also. They must be present there. Otherwise, how does some phenomena exist here which does not exist there? That thinking would make the spiritual world short of something which is existing in the material world. The Ishopanishad very clearly explains this that the whole creation, the spiritual world is full and complete. Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. So the material world and the spiritual world are both complete. Now, the way it works is little different. You have to understand that. For example, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mat, Matsarya, the 6 elements, the 6 vikar. So they exist in the material world in a perverted form. They exist in the spiritual world in their original form. So Kam means lust. So lust exists in the spiritual world in its original form. In its original form, lust means what? Lust means hanker. Lust means desire. So desires do exist in the spiritual world in a positive form. The desire to serve the Lord. Then Krodh. Krodh means anger. In the material world, this Krodh is born out of lust. And so in the spiritual world, that Krodh is born out of love. Like the gopis, they fix up a time with Krishna to meet, and Krishna does not arrive in time. So the gopis become angry. Now this anger, this is where anger is existing in the spiritual world. But this anger is born out of love. It's not born out of lust. Right? Like that, there is greed. Kam, Krodh, Lobh. Lobh means greed. So here, the greed is again born out of the mode of passion. And there, the greed is again born out of love. So the greed for serving the Lord, the greed for hearing about the Lord, that greed is existing. So everything that exists in the material world should be there in the spiritual world. First of all, we should situate ourselves that spiritual world is a superset. Everything must be there. And what form does it exist is what we have to see. So cursing is a sort of desiring. Cursing means what? Desiring. However, When the desiring is positive, it is called as a boon. And when the desiring is negative, it is called as a curse. You know? Fulfillment. So desires do exist in the spiritual world. And in this particular episode, the falling away of Jay and Vijay in the material world is caused because of the Lord's arrangement. Sometimes the Lord has set some rules, but the Lord is not bound by the rules. So he can definitely change the rules to suit his need for fulfilling a pastime or for giving the teachings to the devotees. So Jay and Vijay came to the material world being sanctioned by the Lord to fulfill. And Lord has multiple reasons whenever he does something. And for that, we have to refer to the acharyas who can enter into the mind of the Lord and dig out all the reasons and tell us. So the Lord somewhere had a desire to fight, and he was not finding a suitable competitor. So Jay and Vijay would fulfill that. Also, somewhere in the Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that once Lakshmi Devi, the wife of Supreme Lord, was entering through that seventh gate inside the chamber of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu was resting. And so Jay and Vijay one time accidentally stopped Lakshmi ji also from entering and said, Lakshmi ji, the Supreme Lord is resting for a while, so do you mind standing, waiting outside? So Lakshmi ji became angry. So anger is existing. She became angry and she said, I am the wife of the Supreme Lord. Anyone may be stopped from entering, but then not me. And so she went inside and told this to Lord Vishnu, that you know what, this Jay and Vijay are becoming so duty conscious, they even stopped me. And so the Lord thought of, actually the Lord did not think, but because of this act, they earned a fall down because of having displeased Lakshmi ji. So they earned their fall down into the material world. So it's an arrangement of the Lord. For the moment, we can understand it in that way. All right, Mataji.
So Prabhuji, I have one thing to correct myself. So all these gunas that we have here in material world, when we transit or we are in pure satoguna, then it becomes useful for the pastimes or useful for the Lord's
Leela.
activities. Yeah.
Well, will the Lord engage us in his pastimes or not? That is up to the Lord. And it depends on what is our position in the spiritual world. It may be the case that we are just an audience to the pastimes of the Lord, just simply witnessing everything that's happening around in the spiritual world, or the Lord may send in the material world. Well, transcending the three modes actually does not take us to the spiritual world. It just takes us beyond the material world. It takes us into Brahma Jyoti. Bhagavad Gita 14.26 says, Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samtityetan brahma bhuyaya kripati. When one transcends the three modes, he reaches the platform of Brahma Jyoti. So Brahma Jyoti is like being situated in neutrality. Transcending the three modes means becoming neutral. And then cultivating positive spirit for serving the Lord takes us, that's devotional service, that takes us to the abode of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, we could be floating in Brahma Jyoti as well. So I hope this gives you.
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the answer. Thank you so much. Eternally grateful to you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hemi Mataji, please go ahead, Mata. Prabhuji, do you have some time, Prabhu?
That is the last question we take.
Yeah. Hemi Mataji, please go ahead.
Yes. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for giving me opportunity to speak. Thank you, Prabhuji, for a beautiful class. I have two questions. One is, you discussed the Mahuratas, like the good auspicious timing. How does that apply to us in day-to-day life, in current age and time? And my second question is, if you could guide us how to stay disciplined in Krishna consciousness.
What was the second question?
How to stay disciplined in Krishna consciousness.
How to state?
how to stay disciplined.
Disciplined. Okay. So the first point is that muhurta or timings, etc., how do they impact us as devotees in our day-to-day life? Is that right, Mataji? That was your first question. And the second was, as devotees, how do we stay disciplined? Right?
Yes, like how do we apply this Mahurata in current day and age for ourselves?
Okay, so muhurta means timing, auspicious timing or inauspicious timing. So as residents of this material world, situated in any part of the earth, planet, Bhulok, and within that any particular continent, any particular country, state, city, we are somewhere influenced and impacted by the planetary positions around us. That is for sure, because astrology and the timings, the science of time, astrology is basically time science. So that definitely impacts us. Of course, we need not get into much details if we are not having that much time, energy, understanding, but it is a science which does impact. First thing is that. So the calculation of these timings is based on the influence of planets. And there is Western astrology, there is Vedic astrology, and these astrological sciences, which have become a little bit Ranshit, this distorted in this current day and age. However, they are existing. So they do guide us into auspicious timings when we should do what. For a devotee, sometimes we do consider the absolute principle and we try to act in that way. But we are conditioned. We are not absolute. And it is like, a toddler trying to take a leap to the moon, which might not happen immediately. So in our day-to-day life, how can we use this science of astrology or muhurta? Muhurta is a smaller subset of that. So there are auspicious times to do things which can be consulted with a learned astrologer. There are times to wake up. There are times to perform our duties, and especially the larger things in our life which impact, like marriage, education, the first head shaving, or the graha pravesh, entering into a job, etc. If it is done according to timing, according to muhurta, it gives us a favorable head start. Things will go not only based on astrology, because we have entered into an auspicious time and we are doing it at the right time. It gives us a favorable head start, a favorable arrangement of planets, and sometimes that does help us. It really does help us. But ultimately, it depends on our karma also. So combination of several things come into play when you have to get a fruit. It's not only the water which you pour at the root. It's the fertilizer, it's the seed, it's the protection, the fencing, the insecticides, etc., that help us get the fruit, the taste of the fruit. Sometimes you get apples which are very good, which are very tasty, which are very sweet, but then sometimes there are apples which are not so hard and they are not so tasty. So many factors decide the fruit. So it's one aspect is karma, the other aspect obviously is our timings of doing things. So when we start something at an inauspicious time, then the event may be more challenging than originally it could be. So we do consult someone, especially for the larger events of life, we do consult someone and try to take that decisions. One thing definitely we can do and we should always do is, in all these events, we take more and more shelter of the holy name. Srila Prabhupada, for example, instituted a system of chanting 50 rounds for the husband, for the newly wedded husband and wife before they get into a union. So his formula was to correct the ill effects through chanting incessant holy name 50 rounds. So acharyas have given us certain details of certain things, and then the mood of the acharya sometimes is defining which things take an importance and which don't. So at times Srila Prabhupada has told that the devotees might not so much depend on astrology. At times, however, he has spoken in favor of astrology. So learning the science by itself will take a lot of time, and then to find a teacher would be difficult. So what I can say is that for the routine things, there might not be probably any every day-to-day consultation, but then for some of the major things, at least we try to consult someone. And there are very favorable devotees now in ISKCON who are helping the devotee community by giving their services in India as well as abroad. And they have been practicing for quite a good amount of time, and they do help. So finding a good muhurta for doing things is helpful. For example, travel. For example, I can tell certain things which must be consulted. Big travel journey, for example, which is spanning more than 15-20 days or a month or so, or any major movements. The principle is basically of major movements should be consulted. So when you have a 30-day travel journey, then that's a major movement. So we try and see the charts, we try and consult someone if handy, and then try to position ourselves in that arrangement. Or for example, starting some new venture, a new business, a new enterprise, a new job, a new relationship, if it is done according to timings, according to particular days, it does give us a favorable head start. That's what I can say. And might be able to help us in reducing the challenges which are anyways so much overwhelming in the material world. Or even, so anything major that changes should be thought of as a event suitable for some consultation. Is that all right, Mataji?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji. Very helpful. Thank you so much. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So I think,
Prabhuji, can you talk about my second question? How to stay disciplined in Krishna consciousness? Sorry.
yeah, sorry, I missed on that. Forgot. So this is very interesting, how to stay disciplined. By staying in association of the discipline, making oneself accountable publicly and visibly helps us. Most of us love our prestige and our esteem, self-esteem, more than our laziness. Most of us love our self-esteem and self-prestige more than our laziness or more than our non-commitment. So when we make ourselves publicly visible and publicly accountable, then it invokes discipline within us, because we cannot see ourselves losing our self-esteem. So as an example, just to give you an example, okay, please don't take it as a comment, but if everyone has their video on, then they're publicly visible. So it is visible what people are doing. Even we have a morning program, but then the same case, everyone has their video off. And I'm not asking anyone to on their video, please don't think in that way, but just to answer the question, I know there are certain things which require that. But then take this from here, that when the video is off, then we are not accountable in one sense. We are not visible. So we may not be able to hear with discipline. We may be doing few things here, there. We may be wearing whatever we may be wearing. And we are okay. So like that, if it is, so we have to see which particular aspect we are trying to discipline. Number one is that we have to pinpoint, okay, I would like to discipline my chanting, or I would like to discipline my waking up, or I would like to discipline my food consumption, food habits. So take one thing at a time. What are we trying to discipline? and then try to see how that can be made publicly visible and publicly accountable. For example, if it is chanting, then 16 rounds, then we can make a system of posting our number of rounds and the timing by which we completed. And then further refinement can be done in systems to make it more effective. If we would like to be disciplined in our waking up, for example, then we could take up a service of hosting these kind of morning programs in which we are bound to wake up and welcome the devotees. And we do have this system in our morning program where we rotate the hosting. So sometimes devotees who find it difficult to wake up early at 5 a.m. here, so when they open up and they say that, oh, I'm finding it difficult, so then we put them for a hosting with their consultation for 15 days. So then they get bound to become disciplined. Then they have to be there up 5 a.m. and welcome everyone. Hare Krishna, welcome, good morning, we are here. So that way we can try to evolve systems which will help us. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. It's very, very helpful. Danvat Pranam. Thank you for your insightful answers.
Thank you so much for wonderful question and answer, sir. Shamgari Mataji, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhu. Wonderful class, Prabhuji, and very beautiful question answer, Prabhuji. Please come again, whenever you are free. You'd like to have your association. Thank you so much.
After a long time, we are seeing you, Prabhuji, almost
Yeah.
more than a year, I guess. 2 years, I think. I saw your videos 2020 to 20. And after that, I did not see you, Prabhuji. Thank you for coming after a long time.
Hare Krishna. It's my fortune to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for wonderful class. We are very grateful to you and we look forward for your association again and again, Prabhuji. Please come often, Prabhuji. Let us pay obeisances to Prabhuji and all the Vaishnavas.
Kalpatarupasya Sindhu
कृपा सिंधुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः
Srimad
जय
Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada
Hare
ki
Krishna,
jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
जय
Hare
Thank
Hare.
you, Prabhuji.
Hare Ram,
Dandavat
Hare Ram,
Pranam.
Ram Ram,
राम
Hare
हरे
Hare.
राम 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 हरे
Goranga,
Goranga!
Nityananda,
Nityananda.
Goranga!
Nityananda.
नित्यानंद
Very good.
Hare
Closing
Krishna.
thought,
हरि हरि
Thank you,
बोल
Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.